When I was in elementary school, my best friend Sarah was found dead, naked, in a sewer. After the investigation, the perpetrator was identified as Tom, a mentally disabled man in the village. My parents were afraid I would be traumatized, so they moved me to another city overnight. 12 years later, due to university entrance exam policies, I was forced to return to my hometown of Sunnyvale after many years away. Sarah's mother saw me, crying and screaming madly, "Understanding, understanding." Tom, who had just finished his prison term, smiled and waved when he saw me. "Understanding, understanding." Old man Harrison, the village chief's father, who was over 90 years old, collapsed when he saw me, muttering, "Sarah, Sarah." My best friend Sarah passed away in the summer of 2011. Listen to the full series at the Submerged Archives channel. At that time, I was only in first grade and did not yet understand the meaning of death. When I saw Sarah, who was originally a beautiful, clean, loving girl, lying naked in a dirty ditch, I naively asked the adults, "Why is she sleeping here? Isn't it cold? Where is her dress?" No one answered me. People were busy recovering the body and informing relatives. Only Tom staggered out of nowhere and pulled my hand in asking me, "Where is Sarah? Where is she?" I shook his hand off and took 2 steps back, feeling indescribably frustrated. "What does it have to do with you?" Sarah and I were born only 2 days apart. Our interests were strangely similar, and we were always inseparable, as close as real twins. We even liked to wear the same clothes. For example, yesterday she bought a light yellow dress at the market. The next day, I begged my mom to buy me an identical one. We were the same height and had the same hairstyle. Many people with poor eyesight often confused us, but Tom was an exception. Although mentally ill, he had never mistaken us once. It is said that Tom was not stupid before. It was only because he had a high fever at the age of 4 that was not treated promptly that he became like this. He never went to school. Every day he wandered around the village grabbing whatever he wanted or stealing if he couldn't get it. Everyone in the village hated him. Even his parents' love had worn out over years of disappointment. Whenever someone came looking for them, they would whip him and beat him without even bothering to verify the truth. So when the police investigated and determined he was the culprit, they quickly accepted this conclusion, even hung him up and handed him over to the villagers to deal with as they wished. Everyone gathered around to watch. Sarah's mother cried so much that she almost fainted. Tom still didn't understand what was going on, looked around blankly, and called out, "Sarah, Sarah." I hid behind my mother, and from the gap in the crowd, I saw Sarah's father kick him. He was like an angry lion, his eyes red, roaring, "You dare call my son's name again? You dare call his name? I will beat you to death, you animal." Tom's parents just pursed their lips. In the end, did not say a word, turned back and wiped their tears. Tom held his head, tears and snot running down his face like every time he was beaten. He begged for forgiveness. "Don't hit me anymore. I was wrong." But this time, no one pitied him. Everyone was indignant and scolded him worse than an animal. Henry, the village chief's son, also loudly demanded that he be imprisoned until death. Amid the chaos, a cicada crawled out of Tom's bag and passed through the crowd to me. That is my last remembrance of my hometown, 12 years ago. After Sarah passed away, I suffered from insomnia for a long time. Whenever I closed my eyes, I saw her, her face swollen from being in the water, smiling and waving at me. "Come here, Jane, let's play." With that, she dragged me down into the ditch where she died. The fishy smell immediately filled my nose and mouth. I painfully opened my eyes. Mud stuck to my eyelids. My eyes distorted into a demon face under the blue-white sky. The feeling of suffocation made me struggle repeatedly. Just as I was about to suffocate, my mother shook me awake and asked worriedly, "Jane, what's wrong?" I'm still panicking. "Mom, I saw Sarah. She asked me to go out with her." Mom patted my back. "It's okay. It's okay. It was just a dream." But when the nightmares kept recurring for days, my parents started to get really worried, packed up in the middle of the night, took me out of the village. They thought I was so sad, just changing places would be fine. On the train, I looked at the scenery outside and asked my mother softly, "Mom, is it true that Sarah was killed by Tom? Even though the case has been concluded, I still feel like something is wrong. Tom often does petty things, but has never hit anyone. Moreover, Sarah is a kind and pretty girl. Most people, including me, hate Tom, only she still holds some goodwill. Not only did he not throw stones like the other children, but also shared his already limited candy. I still don't understand why Tom killed her." My mother sighed. "Jane, you're too young. There are things you wouldn't understand even if I told you. What's done is done. Don't think too much about it." I just nodded, silently saying goodbye in my heart to my best friend. After moving to the new house, my mother was afraid I would have nightmares again, so she bought a bunch of coins and wooden swords from somewhere and piled them in my room. Maybe it's psychological, but I really don't dream anymore. Time flies. In the blink of an eye, it has been 12 years. I was in grade 12. Because of the university entrance exam policy, I had to return to my hometown to take the exam. The night before I left, I heard my parents talking softly in the room. Is there a problem with that? It's okay. It's been a long time. I'm worried that the last part is too soft for me to hear clearly. Returning home after many years away. The road at the beginning of the village is still as in memory. Here you sit in groups of 3 or 5, chanting and chatting. I adjusted my dress and got out of the car, following my parents. Suddenly, a woman with white hair and wrinkled face pulled me. "Sarah! Sarah!" I was startled. Looking closely, I realized it was Sarah's mother. "My daughter is home." She hugged me crying until her tears and snot were running down her face. Someone calmly teased, "Mrs. Turner, your daughter passed away a long time ago. This is Jane." But she didn't listen, still using all her strength to hold on to the hem of my skirt. "This is my daughter. That's my daughter. Look, I bought this yellow dress for her. Sorry, she's sick again."
A haggard man hurried to pull her away. When he saw me, he suddenly stopped. "Jane, you're home!" I nodded, slightly surprised. Sarah's parents are the same age as my parents, but now looking at them standing next to each other, it looks like 2 different generations. Perhaps the pain of losing a child over the years has made one of them crazy, one old, and the other miserable. He looked at me, his eyes quickly red. "If Sarah were still alive, she would be as tall as you now." Mentioning Sarah, the atmosphere suddenly became heavy. Only a strange voice broke the silence. I turned my head to look at the sound. It was Tom. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison. He was released 2 years ago and now looks even stupider than before. I remember when we were kids, he never mistook me for Sarah, but now he smiled and waved at me. "Sarah, Sarah!" He is a murderer. Of course I can't talk to him, especially since my hand is still being held tightly by Sarah's mother. My mother gently comforted me, forcibly removing her hand, then pushed me lightly. "Jane, what's happening here has nothing to do with you. You should go home first." I obediently nodded and pulled my luggage through the crowd. When passing by the big locust tree, under the tree sat an old man with hair as white as silk. That is Old Man Harrison, the village chief's father. The year I left, he had just celebrated his 80th birthday. Now he is 92 years old. When I was little, he often mistook me for Sarah. Now seeing me, he was even more startled. "Who are you?" Before I could reply, he stiffened and fell to the ground, still muttering, "Sarah, Sarah, it's back." Several people gathered to give first aid and press the patient's acupuncture points. I stood still, a little confused. Did not expect just returned to the village so many things happened. I pulled my suitcase and walked quickly home. When I got to the gate, I realized Tom was still following me. I frowned uncomfortably. "Why are you following me?" His life must have been terrible these past years. Before, his parents never let him go hungry or thirsty and changed his clothes often. Now he is skinny as a stick. His clothes are torn as if they haven't been washed in a long time. Smelled bad even before getting close. Seeing my disgust, he stepped back a little, his hands fumbling with the hem of his shirt. "Sarah, I'm not afraid." "Why? Afraid of Sarah's ghost will seek revenge on you?" I laughed coldly and slammed the door. More than 10 years no return, house covered with dust. I didn't finish cleaning until late afternoon. Mom and Dad haven't come home. Free time, I planned to go out for a walk. Just opened the door and was started by a figure cowering out on the porch. "Why are you still here?" I hugged my chest to calm down. Tom scratched his head. "Sarah, shut up." I glared at him, not wanting to hear him mention Sarah's name. He knew what was going on and kept quiet, but I couldn't help but ask, "Aren't you hungry?" He bowed his head and twisted his hungry shirt. "Then why don't you go home and eat?" I shouted. He trembled and stammered, "I'm afraid something will happen to you. Bad luck." "I'm fine. How could this happen?" But he did not understand, still quietly following me. I chased him several times, but he wouldn't leave, so I just let him be. On the street, I met an elegant-looking man wearing glasses. It was Henry. I tilted my head and looked for a while, then hesitantly asked, "Henry, it's me, Jane. Long time no see." Henry is Chief Harrison's son, 10 years older than me, smart, good at studying, the son of a legendary family, just born with weak eyesight, always wearing thick glasses like the bottom of pearl. Plus small stature and quiet, so special nickname, Bookworm. When I was little, I naively called out several times. Thinking back, I was a little embarrassed it turned out to be him. I almost didn't recognize him. "Jane," I recognized her immediately. He smiled, looking very dignified. I called him by his nickname when I was little. "Sorry." His smile froze as he looked at me strangely. "What's wrong?" Henry shook his head. "Why mention old stories? I heard you will take the university entrance exam in your hometown." "Yeah. The curriculum in the country is different from the city. My cousin has some 12th grade books. Come to my house to get them when you have time." "Thank you." Turning back, Tom had disappeared. Not knowing when he would leave was good. The more peace I had. I wandered around. When I arrived at the place where Sarah had the accident, I looked down at the dry, stinking ditch, and suddenly a small dream appeared in my mind. In my dream, I was like Sarah drowning in this mud. When I was lost in thought, my sleeve was gently pulled by someone. Tom appeared like a ghost again, anxiously pulling my sleeve. "Be careful, I can't fall." On his mud-covered face, 2 streams of tears suddenly flowed out, washing away 2 long streaks. "They said she died. Right here. Don't go near the river." He stuttered. I also roughly understand the idea. He thought I was Sarah, so he didn't let me near the river, but wasn't he the culprit? Tom shook his head like a rattle, so anxious that he could not form words. No, not me. She ate." He was so excited that he accidentally slipped and fell into the ditch. The ditch wasn't deep, but the mud below entangled his feet. If no one helps, it will be very difficult to get up. Who knows, he might even drown there and be buried with Sarah. But what if he is not the murderer? I hesitated a bit, then picked up a long branch from afar, reached down and grabbed it. I pulled him up. He obediently took the tree. Just as it was about to be pulled up, a loud thunder suddenly rang in the sky. Tom screamed and let go. I reflexively grabbed his arm. While pulling him up, I accidentally touched his chest. That soft feeling made me feel like I was struck by lightning. Is he a girl? I looked back at Tom again. Although the face was covered with mud, the delicate features were still revealed. I used to think he was shabby because he was abandoned by his family, but it turned out he was intentionally hiding his increasingly obvious sexual characteristics. But when Sarah was pulled up, her whole body was naked. It was obvious that a man did it. Did the police arrest the wrong person? Or some other secret? I stiffly walked to Sarah's house, but at the door I turned around and walked towards Tom's house. Sarah's mother has suffered too much. I don't want to cause her more pain. Besides her, there must be someone else who knows the truth. For example, Tom's parents. Outsiders may not know if he is male or female, but his biological parents cannot help but know. I won't beat around the bush anymore. I'll ask Tom directly. Is he a girl? Mrs. Thompson, Tom's mother, was stunned, speechless. I just saw it with my own eyes. She jumped up in surprise and quickly closed the door. You haven't told anyone else? I shook my head. I just want to know if she really is the murderer of Sarah. She bowed her head to avoid my eyes. Yes, the police have already concluded. Our family has already served their sentence and paid for their crimes. You lied. When Sarah was pulled up, she had no clothes on. It was obvious that she had been raped and murdered by a man. Mrs. Thompson raised her head and saw it didn't necessarily mean so. Your stupid girl confessed. She said she liked Sarah's skirt, so she snatched it, but she was nervous and accidentally pushed it into the river. As parents, you have already confessed. What else do you want? I clenched my fists. I don't want anything. I just want to know the truth.
So that's the truth. Her voice was firm, but my intuition told me things weren't that simple. Sarah had that skirt and I had one exactly like it. If Tom liked skirts, why didn't he snatch mine? That night, I told my mother what I had discovered. She sternly told me not to continue investigating. There was still more than a month until the university entrance exam, and she wanted me to focus on my studies. I sadly returned to my room. It had been a long time since I last had a dream in the middle of the night. It was a dream about 12 years ago when I was in first grade. At that time, Sarah was still alive. We had the same hairstyle and wore the same pale yellow dress like twins. After school, we held hands and went home. We sat at the small wooden table facing each other, diligently doing homework. We were writing. My mother came out of the kitchen. Jane, stop for a moment, bringing this piece of meat to Grandma. I raised my head from the book. I pouted and refused to go. I'm doing homework. I'll finish my homework. Go quickly. My grandmother had been reminding me for the past few days. Why didn't you go yourself? She was cooking. But I still didn't want to go. In my dream, I was extremely lazy to go out, probably because my grandmother's house was near Tom's house. Every time I went there, 8 or 9 times out of 10, I would see him. He was 5 or 6 years older than me. He used to snatch my candied hawthorns and cookies. Seeing him made me angry. Today, I was wearing my favorite dress. What if he snatched my dress? I thought so. I found an excuse. Mom, my stomach hurts so bad. Every time I tell you to do something, it hurts. Pretending. It's not really painful. I held my stomach, my face pale, looking like I really have a stomachache. My mother hesitated a bit. At that moment, Sarah, who had been silent this whole time, suddenly stood up. Auntie, let me go. I have to go home too. My mother clicked her tongue.
See? She's so good. Look at me. Sarah smiled shyly. You and Jane are best friends. Your business is also my business. My mother gave her the bag and even stuffed in 2 candies. Then thank you. It's okay, I'll go first. She put on her bag, turned around, and waved. Goodbye, Jane. Looking at her back as she danced away, a strange uneasiness suddenly arose in my heart, as if she would disappear forever in the next second. I screamed in panic. Sarah? I woke up. The scream in my dream even woke me up immediately. I wiped my sweat on my forehead. The image in the dream was still clear, as if it had happened yesterday. Suddenly, I remembered. It seems like this is what happened the day before Sarah had an accident. That night was the last time we saw each other. But what happened after that? Did she bring meat to my grandmother's house? Why did she appear in that stinking gutter? The memories had been obscured by the years. I couldn't remember anything anymore. I rubbed my forehead, poured myself a glass of water. It was already morning. My mother was busy in the kitchen. I washed my face, waited for her to bring breakfast to the table, then pretended to ask calmly, Mom, do you remember, right before Sarah had an accident? She was at our house doing homework with me. My mother squinted her eyes and remembered, oh, it seems like that's right. Mom also gave her 2 candies. Yes, that's right. Mom's eyes gradually lit up. At that time, Mom told me to bring meat to Grandma, but I pretended I said I wasn't feeling well. I complied. Mom's story. So did she receive meat afterwards? Yes. She even praised Sarah for being good, saying she was more considerate than her own grandchild. Unfortunately, that means nothing happened to her on the way to my grandmother's house. It wasn't my fault. I breathed a sigh of relief. My mother sighed. Sarah is a good child, but such a good child was bullied and crushed before her life could even bloom, and the real culprit hasn't even been brought to light yet. I sat alone by the field, absent-mindedly. This place used to be mine and Sarah's secret base, but now I was the only one left. I want to do something for her, but I don't know what I can do. At that moment, a voice called to me, Jane! I turned around. It turned out to be Henry. He was carrying a basket in his left hand and a flagpole in his right hand. Are you going to dig wild vegetables? No. Yesterday my grandfather had a heart attack. My father told me to go out and pick some herbs. Chief Harrison used to be a traditional Chinese medicine doctor. He knew a little bit about herbs. His family has been like that since he was young. I didn't expect that after 12 years the village had escaped poverty. They still kept their old habits. Oh, I've already arranged the books I told you about last time. Come to my house to get them when you have time. Thank you. Oh, is your grandfather still well? I remember that day he seemed to stop because he saw me. He must have mistaken me for Sarah, thinking I was a vengeful spirit coming to take my life. I intended to laugh, but couldn't because I suddenly thought of something. The day I returned here, the people who reacted strongly were Sarah's parents, the idiot Tom, and Old Man Harrison. They all thought I was Sarah. The first 2 could understand because they were directly related to her, but why was Old Man Harrison so scared? He looked as if he had been scared to death. There was an old saying, if you do shady things, you won't be afraid of ghosts knocking on your door. So did someone do shady things? What are you thinking? Henry waved his hand in front of me. I seemed to be pulled out of my dream and forced to smile. Nothing. I just remembered that there's something to do at home. I'll go home first. The next afternoon, the old men and women in the village liked to go out to sunbathe. I looked around carefully, but did not see Henry's grandfather. Maybe it's because he's still not feeling well, or maybe he's just feeling guilty. The next day, I made an excuse to go to Chief Harrison's house to get books. The chief is not home. Henry warmly invited me into the living room to sit. After pouring me water, he went to get the book. When I walked in, his grandfather's eyes suddenly widened and his body trembled slightly. I pretended to be surprised. Mr. Harrison, what's wrong? He coughed violently for a while, then stared at me, his hands shaking as he gripped the arms of the chair. "Who are you?" I smiled. "Don't you recognize me? I'm Sarah." As soon as I finished speaking, I clearly saw his breathing become rapid. "Sarah? Isn't Sarah dead? Who told you that?" "Maybe you're dreaming." "No, it can't be. I saw it with my own eyes." But if I remember correctly, when Sarah's body was discovered, this old man wasn't at the scene. When the police came to investigate, he said he was sick and hadn't gone out for several days. So what did he see? There was clearly something fishy. What did he see? He squinted, trying to remember. "I saw the little girl who came to my house wearing a yellow dress. That's right, the same dress you're wearing today." Then my heart started pounding as if I was about to hear the cruel truth. But the old man suddenly came to his senses. "No, you're not Sarah. She's not that tall." As he spoke, he reached out his hand to estimate. Roughly, she was only this tall. I was a little disappointed, but the next sentence knocked me speechless. He said, "But even though she's not tall, she's still a girl after all."
As he said that, his wrinkled old face, a smile of satisfaction appeared again, as if I had just seen hell on earth. I felt goosebumps all over my body. I was so frightened that my mind went blank. I didn't know what to say next. I only heard his voice continue to tell the story with a smug look. "Children are really good. Their skin is much smoother than this old man's, and the way he cried and begged, it was so pitiful. Tsk, tsk." I thought it would be very difficult to find out the truth. I didn't expect him to tell it so easily, as if it was an achievement. A wave of nausea rose from my stomach and spread throughout my body. I couldn't stand it anymore. I knelt down on the ground and vomited. But the old man squinted his eyes and smiled smugly, revealing his sparse, fallen teeth. "What's wrong? Can't you hear that? This was all her own will." "My own will?" I grabbed the cup beside the table and threw it at him. He was immediately red and swollen. His cloudy eyes were immediately filled with murderous intent. "You dare to throw a cup at me? If you don't respect your parents, do you think I will forgive me?" Chief Harrison first took office. He was stabbed by someone because of a personal grudge. At that time, my father passed by and carried him to the hospital. Before Sarah's incident happened, the relationship between my family and Chief Harrison's family had always been very good. But I didn't expect old man Harrison to be such a devil in human form. I spat angrily. If it weren't for my father, his son would have died long ago. An old beast like him wouldn't have lived peacefully until now. Perhaps because he had never been pointed at and cursed like that, his face was as red as a pig's liver. "Did your education get eaten by a dog? How dare you talk to an elder like that? My education is only for humans, not for animals." You, He was so angry that his chest heaved violently. He kept pounding his chest to regulate his breathing. I stood up. "Don't worry. I will definitely tell the police the whole truth. I'm not afraid." "What if the police know the truth? I'm about to back to Earth. I'll see who dares capture me. Look at me telling you so much as a reward. Can you let me have some fun? Or I'll pay you. I have money." Damn. My eyes were red with anger. I just wish I could rush over and strangle him to death. Outside the door, there were loud knocks. Boom, boom, followed by Tom's voice. "Sarah, Sarah." I glared at the old beast fiercely and turned around to run out the door. Outside the door, Tom looked worried. As soon as he saw me come out, he pulled me away. "Go away, quickly." "Why did she come here?" "He said he would protect you." From the first day I returned to the village, she considered me Sarah and always followed me. Before, no matter where I went, she wouldn't stop me. Prevent. Only when I arrived at Chief Harrison's house did she react differently. I slowed down. "What do you know?" Tom didn't know how to lie. He just opened his innocent eyes and looked at me. I thought for a moment and then changed the way I asked. "Why do you want to protect me?" "It's dangerous." I pointed in the direction of Chief Harrison's house. "You said it was dangerous there?" She nodded repeatedly. "Sarah, it's me. Have you been there before?" She tilted her head, looking embarrassed. This question clearly made it difficult for her. Just when I thought she couldn't answer, she said, "Catch. Catch cicadas. Understand, Sarah? Exchange for meat to eat. Caught it, Sarah. It's gone." This sentence was stumbling. The grammar was messed up. I didn't understand right away. Tom said his hands were empty. "I saw Sarah leave, so I followed the meat." A ray of light flashed in my mind. Right before Sarah got into trouble was the day she brought meat to my grandmother's house for me. According to my mother, she had received that piece of meat. So at that time, Sarah must not have had any trouble yet. Tom's house was near my grandmother's house. She must have seen that scene, so she mentioned meat. Catching cicadas. Sarah exchanged for meat to eat. Caught it, Sarah. It's gone. This sentence can be understood as she wanted the piece of meat Sarah held. Sarah told her to go catch cicadas to exchange. At that time, catching a lot of cicadas could be sold for money. Buying meat was not difficult. Tom listened and went to catch them. After catching them, she discovered that Sarah had left my grandmother's house. Her hands were empty anymore. I had bare hands. I saw Sarah leave, so I followed. She saw Sarah going ahead, so she followed. I quickly deduced. What happened next? Tom frowned, pointed towards Chief Harrison's house. Danger, gone, dead. This sentence was easier to understand. Sarah had entered Chief Harrison's house, then encountered danger, then died. I followed Tom to her house. Mrs. Thompson asked her, "Why did she come again?" I have already told her clearly. We have already suffered what we need to suffer. What more do you want? But the others who deserve to suffer are still living comfortably. I turned on my phone and played the recording I secretly recorded at Chief Harrison's house for her to listen to. Look, the culprit lives a shameful life, while everyone else has to live in hiding. Don't you want to clear your daughter's name? She was only shaken for a moment and quickly regained her composure. What if I say it? I'm not like your parents who have the ability. I say I'll clean up and clean up. The house I am a fool, a sick person, living only on a few small pieces of scraps. In this village, the chief's words are more important than a holy decree. If I offended him, how could my family survive? It's different now. Social media is developed. As long as we bring the truth to light, seek the media's help, I believe the law will give us justice. She is young. She smiled bitterly. She had only been back in the village for a few days and already knew the truth. You guess how many people in the village know the truth. I was stunned. They all knew it, but no one said anything. Not able to speak. The chief's brother-in-law is the person in charge of this case in the police station. At that time, he came to my house and promised that as long as we kept quiet, he would give us some money and help hide the idiot's true gender. You know, Sunnyvale and the neighboring village have many single men. It's safer for a fool to go to jail than to wander outside. We feel sorry for Sarah, but there's no other way. Going to jail is considered atonement for not being able to tell the truth, she said in a look of pain and despair. I can understand, but I still feel unwilling. Is there no other way?
Mrs. Thompson looked tired. No. If so, Sarah's mother would not have gone crazy. Then she told me what happened after I left. At first, the first 2 years, only Chief Harrison's family and Mrs. Thompson's family knew the truth. Sarah's parents also thought that Tom did that. They often look for trouble every 3 days, 2 fights every 5 days. A year later, a wedding was held in the village. Old Man Harrison drank too much wine and accidentally said it. Everyone just found out that the murderer was not Tom, but this old man over 80 years old. Sarah's parents angrily called the police, but the person who came was Chief Harrison's brother-in-law, so of course he wouldn't side with them. Sarah's parents did not give up and started learning how to file a complaint, but they did not know how to read. The path to litigation is extremely arduous. Fortunately, God does not disappoint people. This incident has attracted the attention of city leaders. It's just that it happened so long ago, there is not enough evidence left. In addition, Old Man Harrison kept insisting that he was senile and talked nonsense when he drank. In the end, the case was dropped. Actually, even if we find evidence, it is useless. The perpetrator was 82 years old, suffering from various chronic diseases and old age. Even with solid evidence, the police couldn't do anything to him. Even in prison, they have to be served food and water carefully. Sarah's mother spent all her money but still could not get justice for her daughter. Unable to bear the torment in her heart, she gradually went crazy. Chief Harrison, to save his face, compensated her with some money and promised to pay her hospital bills. Sarah's father had no choice but to accept the money to treat his wife and sign a commitment not to pursue this matter further. You see, the victim cannot do anything, so what can we do? Mrs. Thompson wiped away her tears. Jane, what I said is true. We commoners really cannot resist. I stood up silently and went out. Sometimes the truth is crueler than imagination. No wonder Old Man Harrison told the truth so easily. He is like that. Even if he sues, he might die before the trial is over. Moreover, he was already halfway to the coffin, living today without knowing tomorrow. Die sooner or later, he basically doesn't care. Is this where it ends? No. Such disgusting people can't live another day. The system cannot die so unjustly. I took out my phone to check the weather forecast. Well, today is a beautiful sunny day. The moon will be very bright tonight. Chief Harrison's house was 3 stories high, but because Old Man Harrison was old and weak and his limbs were not convenient, he stayed in a small room on the first floor. The moonlight could shine through the window onto the trees. He once said he was not afraid of ghosts claiming his life. So let's see if he's really not afraid tonight. I took out the pale yellow dress that was carefully hidden at the bottom of the closet. Early morning, I was awakened by the sound of police sirens in the distance. I rubbed my eyes and asked my parents sleepily, "What is going on outside?" Old Man Harrison passed away. I heard he died in the middle of the night. I don't know what he saw before he died, but his eyes widened and he peed his pants. I smiled, the corners of my eyes curving. Really? It seems that not all those who commit evil deeds are as brave as I thought they were. I slowly got up and washed my face. The resentment that had been suppressed in my heart for many years seemed to have been released. Even my appetite had improved. After eating, I went to Chief Harrison's house. I heard that he cried until he fainted several times. I wanted to go and see. In this story, besides the people caught up in the storm of the incident, there was also a person that I despised the most. When my father did such a dirty thing, he hid it and lied to everyone, just like the perpetrator. Seeing him in pain, I was extremely happy. It was just a pity that when I arrived, Chief Harrison had already been escorted away by his family. Their house was in disarray, and many people were busy cleaning up that old beast's old things. I took a quick look and felt bored, so I sneaked into another room. The room was filled with books. I conveniently picked up a few to see that they were grade 12 books. Henry had said before that he would bring these books. I just don't understand why he was gone for so long last time. Ever since I was dragged away by Tom, I haven't seen his figure. The noise outside has quieted. Everyone seems to have gathered in front of the gate. I vaguely heard a few words like condolences, happy funeral. I shook my head and ignored them. Putting the book in my hand aside, I started to see if there was anything else I could use. When I turned to another box, at the bottom I saw a familiar pale yellow color. I picked it up and opened to see. It was a small dress for a girl about 6 years old. There were still old dried blood stains on the dress. I heard my teeth chattering. I also heard my heart constricting violently with fear. The case happened 12 years ago. There were suspicious points that were once ignored and now sprouted like mushrooms after the rain. For example, why didn't Sarah go home after bringing the meat,
but instead changed direction to Chief Harrison's house. For example, that old beast was already weak and trembling 12 years ago. If Sarah wanted to run away, why couldn't she? Who was it that held her back? Also, even if she was harmed at Chief Harrison's house, who was the one that threw her body into that stinking ditch in the middle of nowhere? Who was the person Chief Harrison wanted to protect? The answer seemed clear. At that moment, a chilling voice rang out from behind. "Tisk, I didn't expect to be discovered by you. I'll rewind. Whose dress is this?" He locked the door, showing a creepy fake smile. "Didn't you guess?" Alarm bells immediately rang in my head. I tried to act calm. I didn't understand what he was saying. "Open the door. I want to go home." It's boring to pretend to be ignorant. He slowly took off his glasses, wiped them, and put them back on the bridge of his nose. "Jane, let's talk it out." I pretended to listen attentively. After all, many people had died years ago. Just pretend that you didn't discover anything today, that you've never entered this room, okay? Of course there is no problem. I took a step back, going along with what he said, while secretly looking around to see if there were any tools handy. Unfortunately, I was quickly disappointed. There was nothing but books. Fooling people. Henry sneered. She agreed so easily. She was definitely stalling for time. I'm telling the truth. I know that the person in charge of this case is your uncle, so I gave up a long time ago. But I'm really curious. Why did you kill Sarah? Actually, I don't know who the real culprit is. I just want to lure him out. Henry looked at me from head to toe as if weighing the truth of my words. "Jane, from the first day I wanted to ask you, have you really lost your memory, or are you pretending to be stupid?" I frowned in doubt. "What do you mean by that?" He sneered. "Why? When Sarah had an accident, wasn't she there?" My head was pounding, as if some old memory was awakening. I tried to hold my head. I didn't understand what he was saying. "Don't understand? Then let me help you remember clearly."
12 years ago, I was the first person to take you home, but my grandfather didn't want you and even scolded me. I angrily went out and just happened to meet Sarah. At first, she refused to come to my house, but when she heard that you were there, she followed me without hesitation. With each of his words, the wall blocking the memories in my head seemed to collapse. I finally remembered everything. I've said it before. Sarah is a very beautiful girl. She has big eyes, and her eyelids look like a living doll. In this world, no one doesn't like her. It's just that some people like her in a gloomy way, like bacteria in the dark that can't come out to the light. For example, the scum named Promise. He told Henry to lure Sarah to his house, but Henry was born with poor eyesight. Even though he wore glasses as thick as the bottom of a wine bottle, he still often mistook people. He often mistook me for Sarah. That day was the same. Not long after Sarah left my house, I was worried that Tom would bother her, so I followed him out. Who would have thought that after walking a short distance, I would run into Henry? He thought I was Sarah, so he brought me home. My father had once saved Chief Harrison's life. Besides, I wasn't very pretty. That bastard didn't want to touch me. He only wanted Sarah. Because of this, he loudly scolded Henry as a blind piece of trash. Henry had no choice but to leave the house and go out again. At that moment, he met Sarah, who had just returned from my grandmother's house. And then he did the same thing again. But Sarah was very smart, just like her name. She didn't want to follow him. She only wanted to go home. Henry then said, "I'm at his house, so she's worried but follow."
Then I was blindfolded, gagged, and swallowed in the next room. From there, I heard the whole story. At first, Henry sat in the room to watch me, but later he couldn't control himself and joined in with that old beast's actions. I struggled in vain, only able to use my body to bang on the door. The last time was so strong, I hit myself until I passed out. Woke up again in the hospital. My parents said I had a high fever and fainted in the street and had to be taken to the emergency room all night. I don't know if it was due to illness or my body's self-defense mechanism that I forgot that memory. After I learned that Sarah had died, I started having frequent nightmares. Perhaps it was a feeling from somewhere in his mind. In the dream, that devilish face looked very similar to Henry's twisted face. My tears kept flowing. I clenched my fists and screamed in despair. "You have humiliated her. Why kill her? Why?" He shrugged, looking indifferent. "If we don't pull out the weeds by the roots, will we let her report us? So why are you sure I won't report you guys?" His eyes flashed with evil. "If it weren't for Sarah begging for you and cooperating in everything to protect you, do you think we would have let you go? But actually, I didn't intend to forgive you. I just pretended to leave you outside. Planned to deal with her first, then it would be her turn. But expectedly, she was taken away by someone. At first, I thought everything was exposed and was so scared that I almost turned myself in. But in the end, no one mentioned it again. Until now, I don't know who took her to kiss it." The corner of his mouth curved into a mocking smile. "Or maybe you pretended to faint and ran away by yourself." "Of course I didn't run away by myself. It was Tom who took me away. One of my childhood dreams was being carried by someone running in a pitch-black place. I could sense that it was a girl. Her small figure was holding me with difficulty, but still trying to run. Before, I thought it was an absurd dream, but now, looking back at the whole thing, I understand that it was a real memory. Tom must have followed Henry and Sarah to Chief Harrison's house. Then he saw me being thrown out, thinking it was Sarah, so he hugged me and ran away. It can be said that it was Sarah's kindness that saved my life. Henry thinks it's all just luck. He sneered and said, 'You're really lucky. If you hadn't gotten a fever and lost your mind afterwards, and your parents had quickly moved away, you'd have gone to the grave with Sarah. And last time, you thought I was kind enough to take you home to find books? Don't even dream about it. I put a lot of things in that cup of water. Even if you're a saint, you'll turn into a blank after drinking it.' My heart broke. I couldn't wait to tear him apart. Crazy man, do you think I'm still the weak child I was then? Even if I drink it, before I lose all reason, I'll kill that bastard grandpa. It's okay. I just want to see you and that old man fight to the death. It's better if the pervert dies. I've had enough of him for a long time. And you?" He laughed evenly, his voice disgusting. "I'll make you cry and beg me. I beg you to die, you beast." I couldn't bear it anymore, so I grabbed the book beside me and threw it at Henry. After all, Henry was a man. He was much stronger than me. In no time, he had me under his control, his right hand tightly squeezing my neck. "You blank. You finally fell into my hands. When you were little, you called me a nerd? I wanted to kill you." I spat in his face. "You have such a good memory. You must have had a hard life. After all, I wasn't the only one who scolded you." His face twisted, and he slapped me hard. "Shut up. You're like those blind women. You all deserve to die." "You deserve to die." I raised my knee and kicked him hard in the groin. Henry hissed, slapped me again, and yelled, "You blank! Do you want to die?" I bit his hand tightly, using all the strength of my life. Letting him punch and kick me in the head, I still didn't let go. I was prepared. Even if I died here, judging by the blood in my mouth and the missing piece of flesh on his hand, my parents would definitely avenge me. But in the end, I didn't die because the door was blocked by someone. I broke it open. Tom rushed in. She saw the yellow dress on the ground, was stunned, and whispered, "Sarah, I found your dress." Henry cursed. "Damn it, it's this crazy girl again. Get lost, get lost." Tom slowly raised her head, her jet black eyes shining brightly. I don't know if it was an illusion, but at this moment, she seemed to have regained consciousness. Henry was lucky to have killed Sarah. So what? Crazy girl. Get lost. He couldn't continue because Tom had twisted Sarah's dress into a rope and wrapped it around Henry's neck. Henry was strangled until his eyes widened. He let go of the hand that was restraining me and tried to remove the dress from his neck.
I took the opportunity to turn off the recording function on my phone. Next was the moment of revenge. When everyone rushed in, Henry was already dead. Chief Harrison saw that scene, screamed, and fainted again. I rushed into my parents' arms with red eyes. "Mom and Dad, Henry crazy. He intends to kill the child." I summarized the incident and urged them to call the police. Tom returned to her silly appearance, drooling and giggling. "Call the police. Call the police. Call the police." In her arms, she was still holding Sarah's dress tightly, on which, in addition to the old brown bloodstains, there was also a bright red stain. Uncle Thompson, Tom's father, saw it and was startled, rushing forward to snatch the dress. "What is this? Throw it away. I told you already. Don't cause trouble. You wouldn't listen." Tom refused to let go, screaming frantically, "No, it's Sarah's. Uncle, she accidentally killed Henry while saving me." I emphasized that she was a fool. This was a brave act. She was a hero. Uncle Thompson hesitantly asked, "Do you have proof?" "Of course I do. This time I have full evidence. No one can cover up for the culprit anymore. The cause of Sarah's death will definitely be brought to light, and Henry, the butcher who killed Sarah more than 10 years ago, now wants to harm me. Death is well deserved." Tom's behavior was at most over-defensive, and he had an intellectual problem, unable to distinguish when to stop and when to continue. But the recording on my phone stopped at the crucial moment, so she'll be fine. We just need to make a big deal out of it, attract attention, and wait for a fair judgment. In the winter of 2024, the final verdict was announced.